You're listening to Nereid Atlas, the podcast where international news gets unpacked a little more carefully. The White House set a new import duty, about 10 to 12.5%, across roughly 60 trading partners, citing forced labor enforcement. Within days, several Democratic-led states sued in the trade court, calling it an end run around a recent Supreme Court decision that struck down a broader tariff program. The administration says it's about human rights and fair competition. The states say it's a tariff wall rebuilt under a different label. What's at stake? Prices, supply chains, relations with key partners, and a test of how far a president can go on trade under a forced labor mandate. For this one, we drew on 13 articles from 13 outlets across 11 countries, both newspapers and TV. And when you line them up, the picture gets more complicated. Elena's been digging in. Nereid Atlas, Synthetic Voices, Real Analysis.
They called it a crackdown on forced labor, and then slapped tariffs on goods from 60 trading partners.
That's a weird pairing. Forced labor makes you think of bans on specific products, not a 10 or 12.5% tax on almost everything.
Exactly the tension. The administration says these tariffs are about human rights. 25 Democratic-led states just sued at the U.S. Court of International Trade in New York, arguing it's a legal workaround after the Supreme Court struck down an earlier set of import taxes in February.
So the states are saying this is a pretext?
That word keeps showing up. The Guardian used it plainly, and the lawsuit itself leans on it. Pretext to reimpose what the court already killed.
Mechanically, how does forced labor justify a blanket tariff? I thought U.S. law blocks goods made with forced labor, like specific shipments, not everything from 60 countries.
That's the crux. Traditionally, authorities target goods or companies tied to forced labor, detentions, import bans. Here, the White House took a moral harm and attached a broad price signal. It's faster and it covers more, but it's much looser legally.
Looser and louder. It also puts opponents on the defensive. Who wants to be quoted as against stopping forced labor?
Moral language makes a very good shield, and it polls well.
But are these tariffs small enough to look reasonable? 10% doesn't sound catastrophic.
Le Monde spelled out the 10 or 12.5% brackets. On paper, it's modest, but it's broad. 60 partners went live July 24. And states argue the breadth is the tell. You don't need to tax everyone to fight a targeted abuse.
Why are states leading this, not just importers?
Ports, sales taxes, inflation exposure. Blue states with large consumer economies feel it quickly. Plus, standing. They can point to direct harm to state coffers. Small businesses did sue on day one, but a state coalition gives the court a bigger target and a clearer politics.
Also a bigger trap. If you're a Democratic Attorney General, you look like you're suing to help cheap imports while the White House says it's fighting slavery.
That optics risk is part of the design.
How are outlets outside the U.S. reading it?
South China Morning Post framed it as exceeding presidential authority. Less moral theater, more separation of powers. They've covered that dance for years.
And domestically?
US coverage splits. Some repeat the forced labor justification straight. BBC led with that line too. Others highlight the Supreme Court angle, the idea these are replacement tariffs dressed in better clothes.
So the legal question is simple. Does the president get to use a human rights rationale to rebuild a tariff wall the court tore down?
And the emotional one is worse. If you turn forced labor into a catch-all tariff lever, do you make actual forced labor enforcement less credible?
What's the administration's best argument here?
That supply chains are tainted beyond traceability, so you need a broad deterrent, not a scalpel, a net. They'll say tariffs force partners to police labor standards.
Then why include allies who already have labor laws? NHK noted Japan's on the list. That doesn't track as a targeted fix.
It tracks as leverage. If your goal is bargaining power, you include friends. If your goal is purity, you don't.
How big is broad exactly?
Chinese state media highlighted a number. These partners account for almost the whole import pie. The point of that framing is obvious. This isn't enforcement, it's economic siege. Take the exact percentage with caution, but the scale is the story.
If it touches basically everything, the word pretext gets sticky.
Deutsche Welle zeroed in on that too. The state's challenge is aimed at the forced labor claim. If the court sees it as a mismatch, problem small, tool massive, the legal case strengthens.
What can the trade court actually do?
Injunctions, potentially fast. It can halt collection, declare the measures unlawful, and order refunds of duties already paid. That's why importers piled on early. Real money's at stake every day.
And on the other side, who benefits from keeping them?
Domestic producers facing import competition. Also a White House that wants to reassert unilateral tariff power after the Supreme Court loss. If this survives, it's a template. Pick a moral harm, wrap a tariff in it.
And Democrats become the party suing against a forced labor crackdown. That's politically poisonous.
Unless they reframe it, this isn't about condoning abuse. It's about using the right instrument. Target the bad actors. Don't tax everyone who ships a crate.
But is that administratively realistic? Supply chains are messy. You can't audit every bolt.
True, and that complexity is exactly why the White House chose a blunt tariff. It's administratively elegant. Legally, maybe not.
Elegant like using the building's fire alarm to lock all the doors.
One metaphor per morning, Lucas.
Fair. What does foreign coverage miss that U.S. outlets catch?
The Supreme Court piece. Toronto Star, via AP, said it plainly. These look like replacements for what the court struck down. Without that context, it reads like sudden moral zeal. With it, you see a legal chess move.
And what do U.S. outlets miss that foreign ones see?
The ally angle. NHK's Japan is on the list lands differently in Tokyo than in Washington talking points. And European papers' cool recital of the 10 and 12.5% rates makes the policy feel bureaucratic, not moral.
The risk is we turn human rights into a tariff brand. Once it's a brand, you can sell anything under it.
And every time you sell something under it, you discount the real thing a little more.
So what's worse? Normalizing executive tariffs with moral badges, or teaching voters that those badges are just set dressing?
Either way, the next time someone says forced labor, a judge and a port manager will both ask, okay, but is it about people or power? And they won't wait for the answer.